What is up, guys? Today I'm going to talk about one strategy, one system. But before I talk about that, I'm pretty sure you guys heard a saying before that there's a miner trying to get to diamonds and he's very close to his target, which that's basically profitability, and they're just mining through it and they're just chipping away. They're so close to it, but then they give up. Or there's like strategy hopping, where you're going through one tunnel, you're getting really close, but then you just fail, like you just give up, or something happens, you lose, and then you just go to the next tunnel and you just keep going, but then you keep switching strategy to strategy, you're switching tunnel to tunnel. I think this really relates to trading is because I stuck to one strategy and I never changed, so I just kept literally going straight to the tunnel. But it's not as simple as just going straight to the tunnel and just keep mining, and it's just a matter of time. Because what I did was that I stuck to one strategy, one system, but there's actually minor things in the system and the strategy that makes it not one system. Anyways, I'm gonna go to the charts and then I explain everything to you guys. And my strategy is the break and retest, right? So I have a couple examples here. I have 4 examples. So all these examples is the break and retest because that's what I trade. But in a strategy, there's always different things to it. There's always different confluences. There's different market conditions. There's different candles, and everything is always going to be different. And what I have seen for the break and retest is that bigger time frames break and retest, and there's also shorter time break and retest. That's going to be the same in every single strategy. What I realized is that there is intraday break and retests. So basically it happens when the market opens. The market opens and then it breaks a level and then retests and then continues. But then there's also pre-market break and retest, where the market already breaks during the pre-market. Like let's say this was the level that I had, and then the market was already broken down, is holding this area, and then later in the intraday, it opens and it comes up to this level and then rejects. That's a pre-market break and retest. There's also another example, but I'll explain that later. But first, I want to talk about pre-market break and retest. Right now, we are looking at the ES. This is a 30-minute time frame. This is June 5th this year, and you guys can look back at the markets. But this is what I charted out, and I have these levels right here. This is the 59.52, and this is the 59.70, 6,000. These are the rejection areas up here. And what I see here is that this was a high on the market, which is the 59.52, and also during this area right here. This is also a wick. Essentially what happened in the market was that we had a break on June 3rd. The market just broke. And if you're just looking at the bigger time frames, which is the 30-minute time frame, you can even look at the 1 hour, 4 hour. It will still show you similar things. Since this break, it hasn't retested this level yet. See how it held here? These are the highs. And now if it's actually going to hold, there's going to be a retest, and it hasn't retested yet. Then later 2 days come along and it still hasn't retested. The next day it did retest the level and it went back up. But when you look at smaller time frames, and that is what I trade, you're gonna see this action right here. I still have the levels 59.52, 59.70, and it did break down and then it retested the level. You see how it hasn't really fully retested the level, but if you had a game plan, just understanding the bigger time frames, you can have a level right there, and that was the break and the retest, and you could take your long right there. Since I also had a minor level, which was the 59.70, which held in the pre-market, I just couldn't really trust the level. I can't just like get in early. That is like risking a big amount. This would have been the retest. It reclaims back this 59.70, the smaller demand zone, and then it gives you that retest, and that was the long you basically needed. During this day, I also did the break and retest. I tried a short underneath this level, but then I got stopped out because this demand zone was right there, and it didn't fully touch it, right? So I just got stopped out and then I lost in the trade. The trade was actually supposed to be a long, which was this gonna be this retest of this bigger time frame level. And now this is October 2nd. This was last month. And now we have the all-time highs right here. This is all-time highs that I marked out in my charts. And if you're talking about bigger time frames, break and retest, the pre-market break and retest, this was basically a break in the after hours. And then this was gonna be the retest for a long. That's what I was game planning to do. But when I go to the 2-minute time frame and the intraday, the market did have a higher high, and then later it retested the all-time highs. So I basically got entry right here because it did show it like holds in the market, but it didn't give me that continuation. And then later what happens is that it goes down more, and then it started working afterwards. All right, now we're gonna go to the intraday break and retests. This day is October 8th, and what we have in the market right now, you guys didn't notice already, this was the NASDAQ and this is the ES on the right. If I'm breaking down the trade, we have the Monday lows on the NASDAQ, and then we broke down, and then we had a pre-market rejection right there, and that's why I like the level. The ES also had the same level. It was holding the pre-market on the previous day, and then it had a pre-market high right there. But the Monday lows was a bit different. so I did not like it as much as the Nasdaq. My game plan for this day was that if I get a break and retest, that was going to be my long. We go to the 2-minute time frame now, and this is considered a intraday break and retest because the market opens without breaking a level yet. So the market opens in a range, and then it breaks above my level and I get a retest, and that is long. Another example is October 20th. Right here we have a range, this whole range on the Nasdaq, and also the range on the ES. So an intraday break and retest for me is that if it does break above this level and gives me a retest for a long. When I go to the 2-minute time frame, it's the same thing what you saw earlier. The market opens in a level or in a range, and then later it breaks the level that I want in the intraday when the market opens, and then it gives me that retest, and that is what I did. Now you guys understand the difference between the pre-market break and retest and also in the intraday break and retest. And when you go to the bigger time frames, you just see the market just go straight up and there's no retest. But that's why you go to the 2-minute time frame. That's how you get the intraday break and retest. But this still can always go back down and retest it for the pre-market break and retest or the bigger time frame break and retest. There's one more example that I want to show you guys the break and retest. I'm going back to June 5th, and we can see how there's 2 supply rejections right here that I marked out, and basically the intraday break and retest for this date would have been like this area right here. It breaks up and it gives you that retest, but it failed. Since it's also a supply rejection, this is what I also did. You see how this was a level that I liked? The market goes up, fails to break that retest, and then later it goes back down, it rejects, it fakes people out, it goes back down and it gives you that retest and rejects off the supply rejection. And that right there was a really nice break and retest. So there's multiple ways to do the break and retest, and that is why even though I had one strategy, which is the break and retest, there's so much different types of break and retest. Since I had all these game plans, like, oh, whatever I see I'll take, but then that kind of messed me up because you can't really focus on one thing, because I had the intraday break and retest, I had the pre-market break and retest, I had the supply rejection break and retest, I had the demand zone break and retest, and there's too many things to go through. That is why I struggled a lot, even though I stuck to one strategy. The thing that you don't want to do is strategy hop. You trade break and retest, the next month you trade supply and demand, the next month you trade ICT. Like, you just do all these random things. That's even worse because you're just doing random things. What I'm telling you guys is that trade one system, trade one plan, and just like really focus on what you're trading and just collect data, see what's actually good. Since I just kept saying, okay, let's try this, let's just keep this in mind because this may work. And since there's like 4 different types of break and retest, I'm like, okay, my system doesn't happen too often. I still don't like trading every day since it doesn't happen often, right? I'm like, whatever I see, then I'll do it. But the thing is, my win rate is not always going to be the same. Some of the break and retests I may not do as good, but I just kept leaving it there. Sometimes it worked, so I was like, okay, I just really got to understand my levels. I got to really understand the break and retests, and I can make it work. Having all these little things, even though they're the same strategy, is that it's going to affect my psychology. It's going to affect the way I'm trading because there's still minor things in each one of these strategies, even though they're considered the break and retest. It's going to mess me up because they're not all the same. In the past, I also said I like to trade break and retest. That's my A+ strategy. I'm pretty sure if you guys watch my old videos, you would have heard that many times. I'll say my A++ strategy is the intraday break and retest. But I said I still like these break and retests because it was still part of my system. Who wouldn't like taking trades if it's available to you, right? Because I want to make money. That's what I was thinking of. Part of my strategy is happening, even though it's not fully A+, it might be like A- or B+ setup, and I take it because I want to take a trade. Now I'm like, okay, I can't be doing this. I have to really stick to a system, stick to a proper game plan, and just always do it. Since I like the intraday break and retest and it's been working, then I'm just gonna stick to that. And I know that it's gonna be better in the long run than just keep trying all these random things and like doing other supply rejections. And that's what I did the past couple months. I've been tweaking my system, and I've just been slowly chipping away, chipping away the mining or rocks, whatever you want to call it, and just taking away these small little things that's gonna make me a better trader. That is it for this one. Hope you guys learned something new. And what I like to say in every single video, how you do one thing is how you do everything. Keep staying disciplined, keep staying consistent, and let's just get 1% better every day. And I'll see you in the next one.